What's the best way you've ever flipped the script on someone? My wife Mildred told me she wanted an open marriage at our daughter Mia's high school graduation dinner, right there at Applebee's, with both our families around the table. I've been seeing someone, she announced. Brad, from my CrossFit gym. I want to keep exploring that connection, but I still want to be married to you. You're my stability, my best friend. I just need more. My mother choked on her water. Mia stood up and walked out. It's Mia's graduation dinner, I said. I wanted to be honest. We're adults. Monogamy is outdated. She grabbed my hand like we were a team. Brad makes me feel alive again, but you're my rock. Everyone stared at me, and I knew exactly what to do. Okay, I said. Open marriage it is. Mildred actually smiled. Really? You're okay with this? You want open? Let's be open. The next morning I went to the bank where Mildred worked as a branch manager. I asked to speak to her boss about removing her from our joint accounts. We have an open marriage now, I explained loudly. Mildred's exploring relationships with Brad from CrossFit, so we need separate finances. Don't want him spending my money. The entire bank heard. Every customer. Every teller. Mildred called me within minutes, voice already shaking. My boss just asked if I need personal counseling. 3 coworkers asked what's wrong with our marriage. Nothing's wrong. You're exploring. I'm being open about it. At church that Sunday, Pastor Rick asked about prayer requests. I stood up. Pray for us. Mildred's decided she needs to date other people while staying married. She's currently seeing Brad from the gym. The congregation gasped. Mildred yanked me down, face burning red. Stop it! Why? Are you ashamed of Brad? That night her phone exploded with texts. Her mother, what is wrong with you? Her sister, you're disgusting. By day 3 she was begging. My mom won't stop crying. My sister called me a W word. The pharmacy clerk asked if I'm having a midlife crisis. Please, just stop telling people. But you announced it at dinner. I'm just being honest like you wanted. I posted on our neighborhood Facebook group. If anyone sees strange cars at our house, don't worry. Just Mildred's boyfriends. We're in an open marriage now. Her boss moved her to the drive-thru window by Friday. Customer-facing roles need stable personalities, he said. Brad dumped her after 2 weeks when I introduced myself at the gym. Hey Brad, I'm the husband. Mildred talks about you constantly. His eyes went wide. Turns out he didn't even know Mildred was married. Nobody had told him. A month in, Mildred was cracking. Nobody at work will eat lunch with me. They call me Open Marriage Mildred. I brought Jennifer to Mildred's work picnic. Young, pretty, bubbly. This is my girlfriend. Since Mildred opened our marriage, I made sure to introduce Jennifer to everyone, especially Mildred's regional manager. Yeah, Mildred pioneered this for us. Very progressive. She's into younger guys from the gym. I'm dating Jennifer here. She's 28. Her regional manager's face went cold. Mildred was demoted to teller the next week. She started begging me nightly. Please, let's close the marriage. Brad's gone. He blocked me on everything. I learned my lesson. I'm sorry. But I'm enjoying the freedom you gave us. Jennifer's great. So is Ashley from the coffee shop. Stop! I can't take this anymore. My parents won't let me visit. The neighbors cross the street. Everyone thinks I'm trash. You announced at our daughter's graduation that you needed PP from your trainer. What did you expect? She sobbed harder, mascara running. I thought you'd just accept it, or leave. Not destroy everything. I'm just following your rules. Complete openness. Her performance review came. Customers uncomfortable with lifestyle choices. Another demotion. Part-time hours. No benefits. The grocery store clerk smirked at her. Saw your husband with that young blonde. Upgrading, huh? Mildred ran out, leaving her groceries. Casper, I'm dying here, please, and I'll do anything. Counseling, therapy, church every day, whatever you want. What I wanted was a faithful wife. That ship sailed at Applebee's when you humiliated me in front of my parents. The final straw came when Jennifer moved into our spare room. Mildred's coworker saw the moving truck. Your husband's girlfriend is moving in? Mildred came home to find Jennifer cooking dinner in her kitchen. Casper, please. I lost everything. My job, my family, my friends. Everyone thinks I'm a joke. Open marriage, Mildred. That's my legacy. You announced at our daughter's graduation that you wanted to screw Brad while keeping me as your safety net. I was stupid. I was wrong. I just wanted to feel young again. And now you get to feel what it's like to be young again. Single and broke. Her face twitched at the word single. Especially Jennifer called from the kitchen. Dinner's ready, babe. Mildred stared as I sat down to eat with my girlfriend in what used to be our home. You destroyed my entire life, she whispered. No, Mildred. You did that when you thought I'd fund your lifestyle while you screwed your trainer. You wanted exploration? Explore your newfound broken life. The divorce papers were already on the table. Jennifer had recommended a shark of a lawyer. But hey, I added, you're finally free from monogamy. Brad must be thrilled. Oh wait, he blocked you on Instagram. That's when Mildred couldn't take it anymore. You know what? 2 can play this game. She screamed and closed the door. I didn't know it then, but that was the start of my life actually falling apart. The sound of her feet stomping up the stairs made the whole house shake. I could hear drawers getting yanked open and slammed shut while Jennifer stood there in the kitchen doorway holding a spatula. She asked if maybe we should check on her, but I just shook my head and told her Mildred was being dramatic, like always. The banging went on for about 20 minutes with stuff getting thrown around and what sounded like hangers hitting the floor. Then Mildred came back down dragging this huge suitcase behind her that kept hitting every single step. She looked right at me and said she was going to stay at her friend Karen's place until I came to my senses. The door slammed so hard the pictures on the wall shook. Jennifer and I finished dinner and watched some TV, but I kept thinking about that look on Mildred's face. The next morning, I was eating my sandwich in the break room when the receptionist came in looking nervous and said I had visitors in the lobby. I walked out to find Mildred standing there with this guy in a cheap suit who handed me an envelope and said his name was Jorge Ruiz. The papers inside said Mildred was filing for divorce and claiming emotional abuse, and that I needed to move out of the house immediately. Everyone in the office was pretending to work, but I could see them watching through the glass walls. My manager walked by real slow trying to see what was happening. Mildred stood there with her arms crossed, looking satisfied, while Jorge explained I had 72 hours to vacate the property. I took the papers and went straight back to my desk to call that lawyer Jennifer had mentioned. Conrad Klein answered on the second ring, and when I explained the situation, he told me absolutely do not leave that house no matter what. He said possession was 9/10 of the law in divorce cases, and if I moved out, I'd probably never get back in. He could meet me that afternoon to start preparing our counterfiling, and said to bring any evidence I had about the open marriage announcement. Jennifer said she'd be happy to write a statement about what happened at Applebee's. Conrad's office was in this old building downtown, and he had certificates all over his walls. He looked at Mildred's filing and actually laughed out loud. He said her claims were weak, and we had plenty of witnesses to her announcing the affair publicly. That night, my phone rang, and it was my mother crying and asking what I'd done to Mildred. Apparently, Mildred had called her that afternoon, claiming I'd been emotionally abusing her for years, and that the whole open marriage thing was something I made up to humiliate her. My mother didn't know what to believe and kept asking how things got so bad. I tried explaining about the graduation dinner, but she just got more confused. She said Mildred sounded so convincing, and maybe we should try counseling. I told her Mildred was lying, but I could hear the doubt in her voice. Sunday came, and I was sitting in my usual pew when I heard gasps from behind me. Mildred walked in wearing a sleeveless dress that showed these dark bruises all over her arms that definitely weren't there 3 days ago. She sat right in the front row and started crying during the opening prayer. People kept staring at me and whispering to each other. During the sermon about forgiveness, she sobbed even louder, and I saw Mrs. Henderson shoot me the dirtiest look. After service, Pastor Rick pulled me aside and asked if everything was okay at home. He said Mildred seemed very distressed and he was concerned about the situation. I tried to explain, but he just kept looking at those bruises on her arms. Monday morning, I got an email from HR saying I needed to come to Crystal Yamamoto's office immediately. She was sitting there with this concerned expression and a folder on her desk. Someone had sent an anonymous tip about my hostile behavior toward my wife, including screenshots of that neighborhood Facebook post. She said they had to investigate any claims of domestic issues that might affect the workplace. I explained the whole situation from the beginning, but she kept writing notes and frowning. She said they'd need to interview other employees and that I should avoid discussing my personal life at work. That evening, my phone rang, and it was Mia sounding upset and confused. She said her mom had come to her apartment that afternoon with a completely different story about what happened. According to Mildred, I had encouraged her to explore other relationships as some kind of test, and then used it against her when she tried. Mia didn't know what was true anymore and kept asking why I would destroy Mom like this. I tried explaining, but she said she needed time to think, and hung up. The next day, Sean from accounting pulled me aside in the parking lot. He said Mildred had been calling people at our company all morning, telling them I was having a mental breakdown. She was claiming Jennifer was actually an escort I hired to make her jealous. He said people were already talking and I should watch my back. Conrad called that afternoon to warn me that Jorge Ruiz had filed for an emergency protective order. He said Mildred was claiming I was threatening her, and they wanted me removed from the house immediately. We needed to document everything and avoid any contact that could be twisted around. Jennifer started writing down every interaction and keeping all the receipts from when she moved in. Then Thursday morning, Mildred's boss called Conrad's office with interesting news. Their security team had been reviewing footage after some cash drawer discrepancies and found video of Mildred taking money. It turned out Jennifer's friend worked in their IT department and had noticed something weird in the logs. The bank suspended Mildred immediately pending a full investigation. 3 days later, Jennifer called me at work crying so hard she could barely talk. Mildred had shown up at the marketing firm where Jennifer worked and started screaming in the lobby about home wreckers. The receptionist tried to calm her down, but Mildred pushed past and went straight to Jennifer's cubicle. She was yelling that Jennifer was sleeping with a married man and destroying families. Everyone in the office stopped working to watch the scene unfold. Jennifer's coworkers backed away from their desks as Mildred grabbed a stack of papers and threw them in the air. Security arrived within minutes and had to physically drag Mildred toward the exit. She kept screaming the whole time about Jennifer being a whore who steals husbands. Jennifer's boss pulled her into his office afterward and suggested she take the rest of the week off. He said the company couldn't have this kind of drama affecting productivity. Jennifer packed up her desk while her coworkers whispered and stared at her. That same afternoon, Sean texted me asking if I'd seen what people were saying at the gym. I logged into the gym's member forum and found multiple posts about me being an abusive husband. Mildred had been telling everyone during her workout classes that I controlled all the money. She claimed I wouldn't let her see friends, and that I tracked her phone constantly. Some members were actually believing her story and giving her sympathy hugs between sets. Then my phone buzzed with a Facebook message request from someone I didn't expect. Brad had reached out saying he needed to tell me something important about Mildred. He apologized for getting involved with a married woman and said he honestly didn't know. He wrote that Mildred seemed really unstable when he tried to end things with her. She'd shown up at his apartment at 2 a.m, begging him to take her back. He said she scared him with how desperate she was acting, and he wanted me to know. I took screenshots of everything and forwarded them straight to Conrad for our case file. 2 weeks passed before our first divorce mediation session at Conrad's law office downtown. Mildred walked in wearing a new designer suit I'd never seen before with Jorge right behind her. She sat down across from me and immediately started making demands without even saying hello. She wanted 70% of all our assets plus permanent alimony payments every month. Jorge handed over a document, claiming she'd sacrificed her career advancement to support our family. The mediator looked at the papers and then glanced at Conrad with raised eyebrows. Conrad pulled out Mildred's recent employment records, showing her demotions were for performance issues. The mediator asked Mildred to explain how she sacrificed her career when she still worked full-time. Mildred started crying and said I'd ruined her reputation, which affected her work performance. Jorge tried to argue emotional distress, but the mediator wasn't buying any of it. We left without any agreement, and Conrad said this was going to get uglier. The next morning, Paula called me into Conrad's office with an urgent tone in her voice. She'd been reviewing our financial records and discovered something that made her jaw drop. Mildred had opened 3 new credit cards in my name just last month, without telling me. All 3 cards were completely maxed out with charges for expensive clothes and jewelry. Paula showed me receipts for designer handbags, diamond earrings, and multiple shopping sprees at high-end stores. Conrad said this was clear fraud, and we needed to file charges with the police immediately. He explained that Mildred was probably trying to hide assets before the divorce settlement. We spent the afternoon at the police station filing reports and disputing the charges with credit companies. My phone rang that evening, and Mildred's mother was sobbing on the other end. She said Mildred told her I'd been having affairs for years throughout our marriage. Her mother kept asking how I could do this to her daughter after everything they'd done for me. I stayed calm and reminded her she was sitting right there at Applebee's when this started. I told her Mildred announced she was seeing Brad in front of everyone at Mia's graduation dinner. The line went quiet for a long moment as she processed what I was saying. She whispered that she remembered, and then hung up without saying goodbye. A month later, we finally had our protective order hearing at the courthouse. The judge sat behind his bench reviewing the thick stack of evidence Conrad had submitted. Conrad presented Brad's messages about Mildred showing up at his apartment in the middle of the night. He showed the bank's security footage of Mildred's suspicious behavior before the money went missing. Then he called up 3 witnesses from the graduation dinner who confirmed Mildred's announcement about the affair. The judge looked at Mildred and asked if she had any actual evidence of threats from me. She started rambling about emotional abuse, but couldn't provide any specific examples or proof. The judge denied her protective order request and gave her a stern warning about making false accusations. He said the court didn't appreciate people wasting time with unfounded claims. Mildred stormed out of the courtroom with Jorge trailing behind, looking frustrated. That weekend, Mildred's sister started posting all over social media about me being an abuser. She uploaded old family photos with captions about missing the happy Mildred before I destroyed her. The posts started getting shared by her friends who didn't know the real story. Jennifer saw the posts and decided she'd had enough of the lies being spread. She created her own post with a detailed timeline starting from the Applebee's announcement. She included dates, locations, and exactly what Mildred had said about wanting an open marriage. The comments section turned into a battlefield with people taking sides and arguing about who was telling the truth. Some of Mildred's old friends actually started defending me after reading Jennifer's timeline. Crystal called me into her office the following week with good news about the HR investigation. They'd interviewed everyone involved and found absolutely no evidence of any wrongdoing on my part. She actually apologized for having to put me through the investigation process in the first place. She mentioned they were now concerned about Mildred's harassment tactics affecting my work environment. HR offered to provide official documentation about the false complaints for my divorce case. Crystal said they'd also be willing to testify if needed about Mildred's attempts to damage my career. 3 days later, the bank called Conrad's office with shocking news about Mildred's employment. They'd been investigating discrepancies in multiple accounts that Mildred had been managing for months. The